Ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critically Casual. I'm your host, Three Cuff. Joining me is my amazingly adorable kitten here, Chloe, and I guess Dev is here too. Say hi,
You
Dev.
forgot to do something.
What did I forget to do? Did I forget to hit send on a tweet?
Yes.
That happens sometimes. There you go. Tweet was 12.
Good. Good.
Pre-written, but I got distracted by this cute little girl here. Oh.
No distractions. It's not what I pay you for.
You pay me now.
For other stuff.
So, hi Dev, how are you doing today?
Not bad. Just, here.
Good. Good. I'm happy because I got a new microphone, so this show will probably be great now. We'll have all the viewers. No one will hate anything ever. It'll be perfect.
Oh, honey, keep telling yourself that.
Getting stuck. Alright, so let's just go on and start talking about this week. I have called this week Suspension Systems, because I'm so original. I'm gonna say that every single week. Like I'm original, or I'm so smart, or something.
Extremely humble.
It's extremely. So yeah, we're talking about Kill Command, and then we're going to talk about I Am Mother, and then we're gonna wrap up with the news and wrap up. So yeah. Anything else you want to say before we get started?
Nope, let's just get into it.
All right, we're getting into it by starting and talking about Kill Command. Why the hell? Hang on one second. Before we do that, give me 1 second because I'm gonna be lazy and cheat here. Copy. All right, let's start talking about Kill Command. Transform. Face transform. There we go. Yeah, Kill Command. So,
We've seen this movie before.
this one?
Yep.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, we watched it when we watched the Predator movie. Not the Predator movie, but the Predator movie.
I don't remember this movie at all. So,
I'm making a joke.
I know.
This movie is... Honestly, if you've seen a Predator movie, it's just that with tech.
Yeah, this movie, I wouldn't even give it the honor of calling it a Predator movie. Like, it was weird because they tried to use techno horror in a weird way, which this movie was not even horror or scary at all. It was mostly action, just with moments of jump scares in it, because bullets can travel long distances. Ooh, so scary.
Wait, bullets can travel?
Yeah.
What kind of travel plans do they go by?
Oh, they take South by Southwest, and even though that's not an airline. But yeah, they this
You're
movie
close.
just from the very beginning was just off. That was my first note. This movie is off, and then the next note was that part is off, and then this part is off, and like this whole movie just from the beginning, like they try to tell a story of, I guess, what's the word I'm thinking of? Acceptance, not no, I don't know, race, I guess, is this what the story's about?
Is it?
Kind of.
But it's not, because it doesn't do it.
But it does at the same time. But it does no. It's like
It's also about, that not every quote-unquote bad guy's a bad guy. He's a military guy. Like, he's kind of,
mhm.
set up to be a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
That I think is more akin to prejudice in this instance.
Yeah, but, still, you understand, from his standpoint, you kind of get why he's feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because he immediately knows something's off. Because they've never sent a tech with them.
Yeah. And then there was silence and all those things. So, no, yeah. this movie as a whole from the very beginning, I thought it was kind of boring, and I think it's kind of funny that you draw the comparison with Predator because the next movie I feel has a lot of comparisons to Alien, so which is kind of funny seeing as those are like the two movies of that era that people know.
Yeah.
So
other than Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did. That movie also has a bit of a Terminator vibe to it too.
Of course. I mean, it's robots, so it kind of has to have a Terminator vibe. But I'm just gonna say this about this movie, and then we can decide to move on or not. It exists. Like I'm not
Dude,
gonna
that
say,
is the way to put it.
Yeah, like
it exists.
I'm not even gonna say it's a good movie. Like it's not even an average movie to me. It exists. The things that hold this movie afloat are Vanessa Kirby and the special effects that they do on her and her eyes.
The people special effects are great. Like on Bentley Kula and
his red eyes.
And Ozzy Okirafor, I think is how you say his name. Okirafor. Because both of them have like the scout eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good effects on the people.
Yeah, like the effects on the eyes and then the effects on like her little dial on her neck, really good. Vanessa Kirby's acting, pretty darn good. Everyone else's acting was there, it existed, but I wouldn't call it good, especially because the writing was terrible and you could tell that they could tell the writing was terrible, so they weren't really getting into it. And
I don't exactly blame them on that fact though, because like what they were given is shit.
Yeah, and
you are obligatory love interest. You are mean army guy. You are one-liner army guy.
Basically, yes.
You are the guy we all expect to die. Whether or not you die is up to the movie, but you're one we expect to die. That is your character, so play it like you're expecting to die.
You're not, yeah. And then the worst thing about this movie is the robots.
They're awful.
Every single instance of a robot being on screen, even our main robot, is terrible. Like, bye kitten. Okay, I can sit up properly. Like, every single time their effect, either their lighting or their color or something is wrong, and they are not blended into the scene. It is not good CG design, in my opinion, because I think they get I think it's called occlusions. They don't get the light rendering off of the metal properly for the situation.
No, they always feel fake.
Yes, every single time.
Because you could have something that feels fake, but still feel like it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that with Bleach. Like the CG in Bleach wasn't good, but it was consistent and it still fit. Like it didn't look. It looked fake because the things were different, and they weren't exactly polished like how we would expect CG to be, like a dinosaur movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
But lighting was fine on them. They were consistent and they worked. The robots in this aren't consistent. They're not lit well. And there's some questions I have, like how one has blood on them at that one point.
Mm-hmm.
When they haven't done anything yet.
Mm-hmm. Is it even blood, if that's the case? But no, I hear ya. Was that robot even there to begin with?
I don't know, dude. It's weird.
One thing too is they immediately ruin their own suspense too, because they'll walk in like in the thing, they walk into the building, and immediately after they walk into what's supposed to be their training compound, Mills looks over, and through her eyes we see something that says unidentified number, and it's like, oh, something's wrong here. And like they ruin the tension of that instantly, but they do it through a semi-decent way. Like that was one of the few moments where first person point of view shots actually looked good. For instance, like looking through that and seeing the numbers and stuff go across your screen, that looks fine. Any other time when we see first person point of view stuff, it always looks terrible. Like anytime we get to see someone looking down a sniper sight, awful. There's
just a lot going on. And then my other problem too is the end. Okay, without spoiling the end, it does one of those things: is it or is it not questions.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of those because it's such sequel bait.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie doesn't deserve sequel bait. It's like not even Ultron got sequel bait for being Ultron. From Age of Ultron?
He got no sequel bait.
This has some sequel bait in it. I'm like, dude, you didn't really earn that.
The thing I'm trying to think of that I could compare this to would be The Nun, where like at the end of The Nun, she vomits into the guy's mouth, and then that guy is supposed to be the connecting thread to The Conjuring, but it's not even the same intro at all.
Why'd you bring me back to The Nun? You're not wrong, though.
Spoilers for The Nun.
Yeah. Don't watch it.
And then additionally, other things that bugs me about this too were like, the dialogue in this movie felt way too quiet. Like a lot of the action scenes and the explosions and the gunshots were really loud and out there. The music was loud, but then the dialogue itself, when people were talking, was quiet. Where like I'd have to turn up the volume to be able to hear what they were saying, but then instantly there'd be an explosion or something, and it'd be way too loud for like the entire neighborhood could hear it.
Yeah.
So their audio mixing wasn't that good either.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with it, and I just this I hate to be this person, but like I did call it.
No, I hear you. This was a bad movie. Yes, I don't blame you. But I wanted to watch it anyways. I'm fine with watching that movie.
I'm fine with watching it. I'm just saying that, like, man, I wish horror movies were good again.
No, I hear you. Especially because there's one line. I even wrote this line down because it bugged me. Because it was like, this is just like the epitome of bad writing. Because I remember they set up one of their traps, an explosion goes off, and then one of the guys goes, "Did we get them?" And then our main, like, bad guy, our good guy who was bad antagonist guy in the beginning goes, "One, maybe," and then they just kind of walk off like they won essentially, and nothing happens for another 30 minutes, and you're like,
Yep.
So I guess I just, this movie exists.
Yep. That is the best way to put it.
Yeah, like I want to say don't watch it, but at the same time, there's always something you can learn. I would probably recommend this to somebody who wants to see a good example of bad CG blending.
Who wants to see bad copying homework?
Kind of. Just change the answers a little bit. That way they know it's not us copying each other.
This is... okay, best way to put it is how... Oh, how did I think about it? Because I thought about this analogy for Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, which is still a stupid title.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you started copying your partner, like the person next to you's homework or their test, and then towards like the last 5 minutes of the test, the teacher went, "By the way, everyone's tests are different." And so you quickly try to change it, but you changed everything wrong and missed so much of what you were trying to do.
Okay.
Because you were in a hurry to make a buck. Which, by the way, this came out on June 7th. Oh, no, this is the other one. Sorry. November 25th. 26th. Sorry, I was looking at I Am Mother for a second. With a... Doesn't give me the budget. But box office, it made $25,000.
That's quite a good amount of money. Not really.
25,000. That
yeah.
can buy you a car.
Yeah. Pay off
That is seriously all you could buy with that.
It'd pay off almost a year's worth of my car payments.
Your car costs more than that?
Car is quite a bit of. I've been paying for it for like 3 years now. And I still have another 3 years to go.
So I don't think I'll ever buy a car like through payments and loans.
No, yeah, that was my original goal too. We're getting sidetracked, but this is fine. We'll get back to the kill command in a second. Initially with my car, I always told myself I'm not gonna buy a car from a dealership, like not a used car, I want to pay for it all at once. That way I don't have to worry about the payments because it's cheaper that way, kind of. The problem was I didn't have the option if I wanted to keep my job to keep going to school to get my degree.
And that's fair. In that scenario, it makes sense. Still,
I would honestly, even though like every time I've gotten the cheap discounted car for about $3,000, like or less, those things usually break after about 2 or 3 years. But I would still do that over getting like a more recent used car, because at least those other cheap used cars, you can kind of treat them the way you want to treat them. You can drive them a little rougher because they're cheap. You can get another one for kind of cheap once you save up enough money. And often the repairs for those things are not very expensive if you learn how to do it yourself. So
yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, if you learn how to do things yourself, you too can make movies like Kill Command. So
sure.
I'm gonna give you your popcorn kernels on this
4.5.
I gave it a 4.
That's fair. I'm giving it a pity point, a pity half point.
Is it because Vanessa Kirby?
I'm just giving it a pity half point because it's just like I'm not gonna completely obliterate it. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it does things okay. Like one thing I'll say that it does fine is its set design, and its costume design is okay. So there's that. All right, we're moving on. Moving on to movie 2. I Am Mother.
Came out June 7th, 2019. Made a worldwide gross of $643,000. Plus whatever Netflix got from just people watching it.
So, I know you feel like I just have a preemptive knowledge because of a conversation we had before, where you kind of didn't like this movie. Also, just exists for you.
For me, yeah. I have a lot of problems with this movie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my problems with this movie, and it's I'm gonna tiptoe around as best I can.
Okay.
When you make everything a false truth to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
and make everyone kind of the liar, there's no one to like.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's nothing really to attach yourself into the movie towards the end. And then the movie just kind of ends. Like, I had no feelings towards the end of this movie.
I hear you. And that's one of the things that I find that I'm not going to say like you're wrong. I'm not going to do that here. Because you're not wrong, because this movie is not necessarily meant to like have you feel attached to a character, I don't think. At least not in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, it would probably be a little better if you could feel a little more attachment and concern for our main character, whose name is literally Daughter.
Yeah, none of these characters have names.
Which I kind of appreciate, honestly. I think that's kind of cool. Personally, I enjoy that little aspect of it because...
Well, again, it goes to my problem with attachment. Because, I mean, regular audiences need characters to attach to.
I hear you.
You don't really have that.
But you didn't like the intrigue and stuff that was set up in there? The slight mystery? The suspense?
No, because it didn't matter at the end because no one had the truth.
Okay.
Because like, why does it matter if it feels like my problem with it is that like I feel like there should one of the two characters who end up being the possible paths, right? Should have been the truth.
Okay.
But they're both wrong, right? Or they're both lying. And then our main character ends up just doing what they were going to do anyways. And nothing changes by the end of this.
Okay. Now I disagree with you. Because I agree with you that it's true that Mother and her side of the story is one half truth, and then Woman is her name. And her side of the story is the other half truth, in a way. And none of them are correct. This story is more like a maturing, coming of age type tale in this instance, where.
Okay, then what does our coming of age story do by the end of it?
By the end, it tells her that she is ready and prepared and doesn't need anyone else to do what she needs to do.
But she was pretty much there at that point. She already kind of knew that.
Kind of, yes. But not really. I mean, every single movie has a moment. Like, I'm not going to say, like, how do I rephrase this? Think of it like Spider-Man Far From Home, where he was Spider-Man. He knows he can be Spider-Man and be a good one, but the whole movie is him coming to terms with being the Spider-Man after Tony Stark. Like, he knows he can do it, but he has to go that little bit of a way to get more confidence in himself and more assured with his responses and his thought process.
Well, and for that one, in my opinion, it's more about the fact that he's in the shadow of Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't need to be Tony Stark. He needs to be Peter Parker. He needs to be Spider-Man, not Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
To be good at his job. This one, I don't feel that.
Okay.
I feel more like, because for me, if you're going to be a thriller, be a thriller. Okay, I want to be drawn into that, and it draws you into that, and then drops it. In my opinion,
like there are definitely moments. Like I see that too. There are definitely moments where suddenly it's like a total shift, and it's like, oh, huh. Okay, why are we suddenly?
Like how many times did we switch sides? Who was potentially the villain while inside the facility?
At least 3 or 4.
That is annoying.
You don't think it's realistic though?
It could be realistic, but it could be done if something had a payoff from that. None of that pays off, though. Because especially by the end, when one character does the thing to the other character that we don't see, what was the point of that?
I felt it was very just like that's something I can't really get into until spoilers. Honestly, like that's something that felt very poignant, very intended, very much like purposeful for that point to happen. Like this is definitely a more of a like. I wouldn't say it's a good philosophy movie. It's definitely a philosophy movie, something that's supposed to make you think and make you debate what it's supposed to mean. But the problem that I have with it is it's kind of not very deep of a philosophy movie. Because I'll agree with you, some of what it's telling is kind of not the best story. Like, it'll draw away from here, it'll distract you over here, it'll put tension for this here for some reason, but then it's not important for another reason, and like it does this all on a very surface level at first until the end, where then at the end it's just kind of sudden, and then it's like, hey, we're doing this, and then we're doing this. Here's all the reveals. Done. So I both agree with you and disagree with you, because I agree with you because I disagree. Let me start with the disagree. I disagree with you because I kind of see I believe I see the intent and the intention of what they were trying to come across. But I agree with you because it could have been done a lot better.
Oh, then I am also in the same boat of agreeing and disagreeing with you, because I see that it could be a philosophy movie, but it's so fucking surface level that it doesn't actually delve deep into those questions, because by the end of it, I'm still questioning if anything truly changed by the end of it, because pretty much, for the most part, everything is exactly how it was before, except for maybe one minor change.
You're not entirely wrong. Like, by the end of the movie, there is a minor change for inside, but I think on the outside, there's a big change.
Well, on the outside, nothing changed because nothing to what the world was has changed. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Nothing has truly changed out there.
Okay.
Because exactly what was happening is still going to be the exact way it was happening.
Like, on that, I have to disagree with you. But I can't say why until spoilers.
I can't explain more why until spoilers either.
Okay.
But it's just how I feel about it, because it's just like, even with the thing that happened, nothing truly changes out there. Like, everything that was happening out there will continue to happen out there the way it was before.
Okay. So,
is the best way I could put it.
I can appreciate that. So I guess for now, let's put a pause on that conversation, the plot and story-based stuff. Let's talk about a couple of the other things. For instance,
acting was good.
Yes, acting I thought was great. One thing I want to ask you is, what did you feel? First question. Mother, is she practical or is she CG?
She's practical,
yes,
for the most part.
Yes. I didn't know if you knew this or not, so I wanted to make sure.
I can just see it. I mean, there's certain points where it obviously has a little bit of CG, but that's because you got to do some CG to make things like that work. Like, superhero suits, for the most part, are all practical. Most of them. Like Cap and Widow and a few others. And even lots of parts of, like, Tony Stark's armor are practical. But the touch-ups to make it look and move, like, that's how the Flash uniform worked in Justice League, is it was fully practical. It's just they add CGI to it. And that's why his suit in that movie looked good. This is the same thing. Like, there's minor touch-ups to the practical to make it kind of blend better.
What would you say, just because I want to get how far you understand this, what would you say is some of the CGI touch-ups?
Probably some of the hydraulics and stuff like that, like a lot of the smaller moving pieces. Because you wouldn't want, like, pieces like that while you're moving, like, a human head around inside that suit.
What if I told you that it was all practical? That all that stuff was practical, including the moving eyes.
Well, there's still going to be some touch-ups.
I hear you, but no, like, the tubes and stuff in his neck were all there. The moving stuff for the smile lights and the dialed eyes, that was all actually real stuff that was moving because of controls. Because the way
I would hate to wear that then, because Jesus Christ.
The way it was designed was his actual face was in the neck, so he could see through the neck, and then all the motors and stuff for the eyes and stuff were above him on his head like a helmet.
Still, because then you're like this in that suit.
Kind of. Yes and no, because you're still a fully padded suit with all the protection, so you have something.
Yeah, but where the arms are.
Like, there's a behind the scenes scene of him, like the guy doing the body double, because most of this movie is practical. There are very few CG scenes. Like, one of the CG scenes is very early on in the beginning, where Mother is walking with the baby. Like, most of that is practical. There's, like, one moment where you see the baby's hand holding Mother's hand. That is CG, because you get a better response from a baby holding their mother's hand than you would a baby holding a robot's hand. That's just simple stuff that they kind of fixed, but it looked good. And there was occasionally, like, most of the time that replaced Mother, like, they did full replacements, was when she was running. Anytime she was not, like, walking, they had a digital replacement. So, but even then, like, some of the fight scenes, like the, well, quote unquote fight scenes, there aren't really fight scenes in this movie at all.
They're action beats.
Yeah. So some of the action beats, they're still practical with a person in the suit, but the difference is they only had 2 suits in this movie. I looked this stuff up because I actually like this movie a lot. They had 2 suits. One was blue for most of the action stuff, and then they had the real Mother suit, like all the gadgets, gizmo stuff, and they only had one of those, so they had to be careful with it. Um, but most of it was practical, and that's something that I really liked about this movie. Was they took a practical suit and they did a lot with it, like, and then the CG that they used to cover it up, hardly if at hiccups, hardly if at all looked any different. At least to me. So that's one thing.
No, and this is good. It's cool,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not taking that away. It's just for me, story beats is my problem with it.
Oh,
You know,
I also liked set design and interior. One thing that I was constantly questioning, which I think is a little bit interesting, was their use of color, because most of this movie is white and like cold and bright, except for Daughter, who is constantly in the color red. So, which strangely enough, there's not really an explanation why they do that. I looked everywhere, and I couldn't find an explanation why the director decided to do it, other than like colors in cinema can mean different things. Like red is either anger or love or excitement or passion or change or like determination, or there's so many different things that the color red could mean, while the color light is supposed to be like stillness and sterility and calm and like, so I guess there's some play on colors here as well, but all in all, um I don't know. I personally really enjoyed this movie. It's, I liked how they used the different types of music too to tell the story that they're trying to tell as well. Like each song was a mixture of the term that we learned the other week, diegetic, where there will actually some reason why it was being played throughout the movie, and some of it was actual singing, while other parts just fit really well. Like one of the songs that caught my attention was, where'd it go? I just had it. It's called "I'm Tired of the Rain," and it's in the middle of a conversation where mom and daughter are like, "Well, I'm a little upset, but I'm fine." So, there's a lot of other stuff behind this that I really enjoy from this movie. I still also enjoy a lot of the writing of this movie too, but I could also see your problems with it. But I guess, like, I don't know what else to talk about. You've just been sitting there silently.
I don't know what to add. You're going. I'm letting you have your moment. My fucking god. Sorry, you have a lot to say, so I'm letting you say it.
I was hoping for some interaction, but it's fine.
You complain at me when I interrupt you to talk about shit, and then when I give you a moment to talk about something you're passionate about, suddenly I'm being the asshole for not talking.
I'm not saying you're an asshole. You're putting words in my mouth here now.
I was letting you have your moment to speak, though, because I was, because I didn't look at it through that light. Okay,
I hear you.
I still don't see it through that light, because for me, it was just kind of not following through on stuff that I would have rather enjoyed and that they set up, and also just that the fact that there was no, for me, there's no payoff. Like, that's my biggest problem. There's no payoff to this movie for me. Because there's no, like, if you're gonna set up a twist of some sort, actually have it be a twist. Because everything that's supposed to be a twist doesn't feel like a twist by the end. Because it's been repeated so many times by, like, other character. If that makes sense. Because, like, everything that was set up to be the twist is revealed to have been the truth, right? That the other one was saying.
Once again, I can't really get into this until we get the spoilers, so.
And it just bothers me because there isn't, like, I guess my problem is that, like, I like thrillers with, like, I like when a thriller has a clear-cut, like, beginning, middle, end plot line that has, like, it's build up to what the thing is, right? Its middle part is interacting with the scary, we'll call it, the thrill, the twist, or what will be the twist, and then you hit the twist, and you're at the end of the movie when the twist happens. and then your characters have to react to the twist at that point. It's one of the reasons why I didn't like Glass, because the twist sucked.
Yeah, Glass
because it wasn't a twist.
Glass I felt was definitely disappointing, but
and this movie's not as bad as Glass.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not comparing this to Glass in the sense that this was as bad as Glass. I do think this is better than Glass was, but my problem is that, like, this one does it does 1, most of 2 and 3, but that in between part, that 2.5 that you need to get to 3, never really happens for me. And so, like, I never really get that twist reveal, characters react to twist.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
That's what, at least that's what the movie felt like it was setting up for me. And that could just be my interpretation. But because that's my interpretation, that's why I'm not as big of a fan of it.
Okay. I hear you. So do we just want to move on to rankings and one other thing actually. One last thing is, did you see any at all comparison to Alien? Like I did. Like there was a lot of homage to that, where they did a lot of scenes that were very similar, even toward the point where, like, her costume design towards the end was practically the same as Ripley.
There's also a lot of Sarah Connor comparisons from Terminator.
Kind of, yes. Kind of.
Because there's a character who apparently fights machines who's coming in as the mother figure.
No, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, there is a kind of discussion about religion in here, too. Because in Terminator, though, that one's more of a religion of, like... How do I explain this? It's hard for me to explain. Like, Terminator is all about saving the mother of the savior, essentially. Saving...
I guess she compares more to Terminator 2.
Like in this movie, I would say yes, there's a lot of religious parallels in this instance. One, because woman is in herself religious, and you think
I wasn't comparing religion, but
I mean,
oh, that's fair. Like, if that's, I guess I've never looked at Terminator that way.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear. Like,
personally.
Like, Sarah Connor is Mother Mary of Terminator.
No, I've never honestly thought about it that way. You've opened my eyes on that movie from a different perspective. This also just shows that my ass is not religious in any fucking form. Because it's not the thing I think of when I watch a movie. It genuinely isn't.
In this movie, she is more of like the Christ-like figure in a way. She is and she isn't, because like, part of it spoilers, part of it isn't. She is born through immaculate conception, almost. Like, not the fact that she's the wrong word, immaculate, I don't believe. Like, she was born without essentially a father or a mother, except she has a mother. So it's like, it's a weird sci-fi twist of a kind of biblical tale, but it's also not a biblical tale at the same time.
Yeah, I get that. Now, again, some things are going to easily go... When it's religious-based, it's going to go over my head easy without someone bringing it up, because it's not part of my vocabulary.
Did that... Now I have a question then, because now I'm thinking of the most recent Terminator movie, where literally she's like, yeah, they're after you for your womb. You're going to be the mother of the savior. That didn't, like, ring any bells to you at all?
It does now that I think about it, but at the time, that's not what I'm going to compare it to. I'm going to compare her to Sarah Connor.
Okay.
That's legitimately... Listen, that's what I'm going to compare her to.
I can't say I'm disappointed.
Like, I wasn't raised religiously, so, like...
No, I hear you. There's, like... I'm sitting here thinking, like, how do you not see, like, the religious similarities? I understand that I had that Mormon pastime for a little bit, but I am not religious. So I'm like,
Yeah, but you like because of that you have more religious background than me.
I
I
also,
went to church twice, I think. Once on an Easter, once on a Christmas.
believe it or not, religion is really cool to like find stories out of and storytelling
Oh,
from. So
100% agree. Because when I do study like other religions and mythologies, I've always been fascinated by them. So like I know a lot about like, or I did at one point know a lot about Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Rome, Egypt, um, some Aztec, um, stuff like that. I find those ones more fascinating because the stories are more interesting to me, at least.
mhm.
Um, so like, there's more for me to absorb there, I guess.
I hear ya. I just remember in college taking like intro to religion classes as well. So I
See,
was
that's why you're going to have more information on this
yeah
kind of shit
like
than me.
that they didn't cover like Greek or anything of like the interesting fable folklore type stories other than Buddhism. Like we covered Buddhism, Hinduism, um, Christianity, um, Islam, and can't remember.
Confucianism?
Maybe that seems about right. I can't remember the
Those
last
I
time I
think are the
took.
main ones practiced today.
Yeah.
Would
So,
be Christianity slash Catholic slash like the subcategories of that.
oh, Judaism. That's what it was.
Oh, Judaism. That's probably it then.
That was what it was. I was like, because we focused on the three Abrahamic religions, which were Judaism, Christianity, and Islam,
Yep.
and then we did um, Buddhism and Hinduism because they're kind of similar. They aren't and they are at the same time.
I feel like Confucianism would have been good to learn during that too. 'Cause that's
Probably.
still somewhat. Still, you learned a lot about modern
Mhm.
religion.
I remember
Um,
once. Once again, we're getting off topic from I Am Ever. We'll get back onto it in a second. But I remember once having a conversation with a man where he was Buddhist, and I was like, "So, what do you think about these other gods and these other tales in your religion?" He's like, "I actually have never heard those." So it's like, "Oh, good to know," because like, in a way, they all focus on the same beliefs, but they can kind of like they have different sects within their churches of in their religious areas, of course, so they can focus on praying to different gods specifically. Oh.
yeah. Also, a lot of like with ones with like multiple kind of god figures.
Mm.
You can kind of like. I mean, that's what a lot of the Greeks did. They devote themselves to a god.
I mean, a lot like you won't see a farmer praying to the god of the sea.
No,
You'll see him praying to the like god of fertility and land and stuff and whatnot.
you won't see a sailor praying to Athena
Yeah. So.
for safe passage.
Mhm.
Because then Poseidon's gonna be like, "Bitch, you thought."
You dare disrespecting me? Okay. So I guess then going back on I Am Mother. Let's see here. Oh, I want to talk about the cinematography. Like, of course, there's the homage to the aliens kind of towards the end. But a lot of this movie I thought was very simple when it came to cinematography. But I liked what it did in the simplicity of it all, especially when it came to like how daunting Mother started becoming.
She felt bigger by the end.
Much bigger. Like in the beginning, she seemed small. Well, not necessarily small, like, but loving for sure, and delicate and tender. I especially love the voice that they chose for her. Like, that was a good choice. But then by the end, she definitely feels more present. I especially love like the cover for the poster. I used the image from the poster, which had one of my favorite moments in the movie, which is Mother standing in center frame of a dark room, holding the baby. And I just liked this image, the imagery of it all, especially in the context of the film. So,
Oh, hey,
yeah.
it was good.
All right, Dev, give me my popcorn kernels.
Give me your popcorn kernels.
8 out of 10.
Fair enough.
This is a movie I like. I will definitely end up watching this again at some point.
You rated Honey Boy higher. And Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I'm just running down the list real quick.
Oh yeah, there are definitely movies that are better than this one.
I know. I'm just giving you a bad time. So don't judge my score too much, okay?
I won't. I promise I won't judge your score. I'll just judge you.
Because like I don't want to. I don't think it's really lower than where I have it, but I don't think it's higher than where I have it, which makes me feel a little bad. Because I mean, there is some good stuff in it, but it just doesn't work for me. So I'm giving it a 6.5.
Okay, that's fine. Like, we all have our own opinions to each movie. Remember, you're the casual. That's why
Steven
I wasn't
hates
disappointed with you not getting religious references.
I'm as casual as you can really get sometimes.
Sometimes. It's weird. You have these weird moments of being really critical.
Well, it's usually with stuff that I'm passionate about, so. Comics and nerd shit. That's when you'll get me going like, all right, listen.
So with that, does that make it a 7.5 on average?
Yes, it does, Steven.
Ah, me and my math skills. Oh yeah.
Let's get ready to spoiler!
So yeah, story. You don't like it.
It's just not for me, man.
I hear
like,
Like-
it's just nothing changes for me by the end.
You're not entirely wrong. Like, because the movie to me was telling me that Mother was always in control. Like, the world is owned by Mother essentially. Because it's let known that she is every robot.
Yes.
That is something that is announced. She is one consciousness controlling all the machinery, essentially.
Which is supposed to be the big twist reveal.
That I didn't necessarily. I wasn't surprised by that. I thought the big.
I wasn't either.
That
But it's
wasn't-
played as it.
I felt
from
the
my
big
perspective.
twist reveal was that daughter found out that she wasn't the first daughter. Because they did a lot for that. They set that one up a lot more than they set up that Mother is control of everything.
Then it should have been later. Because that's about at the halfway.
I'd say a little bit after, but I kind of agree with you because there's a lot of things that led me up to that point. For instance, right at the very beginning of the movie, because they start with the repopulation site. This is day one of the apocalypse, and there are 6,300 embryos.
Yes.
Then we go through our Baby of Mine music montage, which is supposed to show this baby as it's developing and growing up, and then we cut to day 13,867.
I didn't do the math.
I did.
I'll be straight up. How many years?
37. And daughter is 18. So immediately from the very beginning, like I could tell you that it was way too many years from the very beginning because 365.
I knew it was too.
times-
Like
yeah.
I was like, that is a very long time.
Yeah.
I wonder.
It's like just doing quick math, like 365, you round it up to 400. 400 times 18 is 5,000 or 8,600. So you're already at you're a little over half of what the number of days given to us. So just from that right away, we're told that there has been, like immediately right away, it's told to us that there's something not right here. And it's subtle. It's very subtle, which is something that I enjoy.
No, and I'll give it that. It's subtle. I saw it and I'm like, that seems too high to me.
Mm-hmm. And then
It's a good play because some people aren't gonna do the quick math in their head. Because me, I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
so
those
that's
people aren't gonna
obviously
care about
telling
it.
me something.
Yeah.
Well, see, it still works in my opinion because you're like, oh yeah, that did work to that.
like
And I see why you think that is the twist, and I see that is probably what they were aiming for the twist now.
Yeah, especially because there are other hints of it at it too, like daughter's numbers and stuff, and it's like every time she
3.
logs, she's 03, and then you look in the drawer and there's a quick flashes of 02s and 01s, and then she's like, wait a second, what? So, especially because in the early montage, the very beginning montage, where it shows the incubation cycle, it says 01, and then we're at 03 when we get to our daughter, and it's like, huh.
Yes, and that's fair. But my problem is that reveal. This movie should have been shorter then.
Okay.
Something like that. Either shorten it or make it work so it could be later. Because the problem is, like, how, for me, usually a thriller works, for me, even horror, action, whatever, is usually you have your setting up your first act, your second act is setting up to the twist that's going to happen. Like, we can use Mission Impossible Fallout for that twist, okay? Mm-hmm. You have your whole setup with trying to get, what's his name? Ethan Hunt. And trying to figure out who the guy is trying to save him, who, the twist guy is. The second part of that is initiating the plans, right? And getting to where we're going to get the big twist, which is the reveal of the photograph. Mm-hmm. That they're like, oh yeah, we know she's alive, bitch. What do you think? We're idiots? Mm-hmm. And it's a long twist, because what happens is that twist is lengthened out, and it works in my opinion, because it's like, oh, they know about her shit. And then they go to a medical facility. And there she is. That is a good twist, in my opinion. That the entire thing that Ethan has been protecting for 3 movies by keeping her away from this is there now. That is a good twist, in my opinion, because suddenly it raises those stakes so much higher, and now Ethan has to engage with that twist being in play. Mm-hmm. Daughter never really engages with the twist being in play. She just she reacts to it and leaves.
See, the idea here, I feel, is this was all Mother's plan. Every part of this
I get that, yes.
Yeah, like,
yes.
So,
especially by that end note that she does.
Yeah, like, especially, like, I got that around, especially because of the end note, but, like, I don't feel like I felt it was kind of a throwaway line to reveal. Well, how do I explain this? It wasn't a throwaway line. It was definitely not really an exciting reveal to be like, I am everything. I am all consciousness for all these robots. Like, that stuff just kind of makes sense to me why it wasn't super important to the movie, because it wasn't super important to the plot, I guess. But it also is at the same time, because Mother being everywhere is important, because the way I see it is Daughter has grown to what Mother has wanted. Daughter is the pinnacle start. She is the Eve, maybe the Adam, but in this case the Eve of the new race of humans. And the woman, in this instance, was the end of the last race of humans. Like, to our knowledge, as far as we know, woman was the last human of the old age. And that's all because Mother had set this up to be this way. So my thought process behind it was Daughter embraces some of the half-truths. Like, I feel like a good way to compare it is she's like, hey, Fallout 3, where they're inside the vault and they are trying to keep people from ever leaving the vault. I think that's essentially what they've established, because I
did get some of that vibe, yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Some Fallout vibes.
Mm-hmm. Like, because they talk about contagion, and in the very beginning of the movie, there's explosions and whatnot destroying the world, and you can see it with the rumbling of the facility. But the reason I bring that up is because she goes from being told that it's a contagion killing everything, to finding out that it's the robots killing everything, to finding out that it is Mother specifically killing all the humans. Mother's philosophy behind this whole thing was that it doesn't matter what happens to the humans of the past, because the humans that she is creating in the future will be better and be a far better example of humanity. And
I agree with every point you've said so far.
And she has kept woman alive to be that example of the old humans and how they are just there to take what they want. And it is kind of reinforced that was the message she was trying to state when daughter leaves to go back to mother. Technically it's to get her brother, but she still leaves that crappy lie that she was told, because she thought it was better to be in that facility and with her family. And sure, by the end of it all, technically nothing's really changed other than the fact that the world is now open again and it's starting to develop and create new plant life for one and make the air easier to breathe again. But it's really still all controlled by mother. So
that's why it doesn't feel like anything's changed for me.
Mm-hmm.
The outside hasn't changed. The only thing on the inside that's changed is that daughter is now the mother.
Like, this whole thing is trying to hammer the idea of the trolley problem, and growing into becoming a person who values certain life and over all life or whatnot. Like, for instance, you know what the trolley problem is, right?
Yeah, you have two tracks. One kills one thing, one kills the other. There's an entire animated series from Cyanide and Happiness called Trolley Tom, my good friend. They even created an entire card game.
So, the trolley problem, and the direct comparison in this movie is the organ patient donors, where there's 5 who are sick and need a new organ, but then a 6th one shows up and he's curable, but if he dies, you could save the other 5.
Yep.
So, and then the question is, if the doctor is the person who could save the other people, does the doctor give up their own life to save the other people? And
because the doctor could save more lives down the line.
And that's kind of what happens in this instance, because mother gives up her physical body to save daughter, to save her idea of humanity for the future generations down the line. Even though technically she is stepped out of the direct contact, she's still indirectly control. It's that's why it's surface level. That's why I say it's surface level.
Oh yeah, it's you just scrape the top off and you get the philosophy of this movie.
So I agree with you and I don't, because I like the setup. I feel like that they do a good amount of setup for the story that they tell, but then they just don't get to that deep moment.
See, and that's my problem. I feel like they were setting up for the deep what moment too much, that when it didn't happen, it left me unsatisfied with the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I just found value in all the other things, like the way the CG
and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
This is perfectly fine. This is perfectly fine from both of us.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's me. That is me for movies, though. I like thrillers, and I like when they have that payoff. That's why I like all the Fallout or the Mission Impossible movies. That's why even 2 has some dumbass fucking moments, and it's the worst of the series. But it has some fun moments like that, some payoffs, like mask reveals and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's just, this movie never has that moment for me where I feel like I was revealed the truth, because it feels like I've known the truth the entire movie.
I can hear you.
In some sense.
I have nothing else to say other to go with or against that. So,
all right, that's
wrong.
Fair. Neither of us are wrong.
Yeah.
That is 100% what it is. It's because it is interpretation.
And that's just where we're gonna have to sit on this.
This isn't like a story that is an adaptation where we both have valid arguments, but one of us feels the other is wrong. One of us feels the other is wrong, is how I'll put it. I am obviously right because I know more comic book knowledge, but we will go past it. still not over the fact that you said Man of Steel is a good. Which, by the way, side note, we need to watch that new Superman animated movie that's gonna come out because that will be my way to express to you why Man of Steel is not a good Superman movie. From what I've seen of it, it looks good.
You saying that also had me think of a random thought. Remember that Baymax comment? Is it New Mutants? Is that where he shows up in a random crossover? You could say no or yes, but that was the only thing that I could think of that was like, that's the only comic book thing that I could see working because they're kind of talking about like horror adventure stuff. Yeah. So I have no idea. I'll ask you later. I've been trying to figure it out, and I was like, none of this other stuff
I don't even know if you
sense.
own it yet. That's the thing. It's a thing you've wanted for a while.
Oh, I have no idea.
I've done it.
It's just
Hint. It's somewhere on this.
It's just, it's like you and religion. It's just going over my head right now. Muted for you, not for the stream. It's just you and it's like you and religion. It's just going over my head right now.
Fair enough. I'll narrow it down to a shelf.
The only thing I could see there is Spider-Man.
Yes, but what console is that?
PlayStation 4. PlayStation.
What games
5.
have I played on PlayStation 4 that you wanted to play?
Kingdom Hearts. Is it this one right here, Kingdom Hearts 3? Where you fight
it may or may not be.
Where you fight against evil Baymax? All right.
Melding over this for a week,
and it's been right here.
Right in front of you. Oh my god! Why did you?
It's literally sitting right there.
Steven!
That's funny. Right over my head.
You could have looked down so we could fucking answer your question.
I was thinking movies. I've been thinking movies this whole time.
I told you it could be movie, comic book, video game. I tried to emphasize video game. A little bit different to give you a hint without revealing it too much. But yes, you fight evil Baymax in that game. Like it is that Baymax. Oh. He has a dark armor and everything.
Interesting.
Like when you spilt all that, I'm like, they just did that in that. They did that in Kingdom Hearts 3. You didn't play that? Didn't he play that? Oh,
I own it. I'm at this point where like me and PlayStation, I own 2 games for PlayStation. I actually own 3 games. No, 4 games for PlayStation that I want to play that I haven't played through. I need to finish the Spider-Man game still. I got burnt out on it before I finished the storyline because I grabbed all of the collectibles before I should have and got bored of it. I want to finish. I
told you not to do it that way.
I know you did, but whatever. I want to finish. I want to play Kingdom Hearts 3. I have The Last of Us 2. Need to play that. And if I kind of want to torture myself and play Dark Souls 3. I have it.
I have it too.
I just haven't played it.
I tried that once. Didn't go well.
Yeah. So yeah. Trying to think of anything else to talk about in I Am Mother Town now. Let's see.
News?
One thing I wish... No, hang on one second. One thing I wish that they did talk about, which they didn't, was like Mother was trying to craft daughter to be her ideal human. But some of the things I want to know is like, why did she choose things like dance as her recreation rather than music or art?
Because it is also athletic.
Sure.
Problem with that is then you're not going to get any new music or art, which is important to humans.
Mm-hmm. Because that was one thing that I felt was a problem early on in this movie was that Mother was kind of stuck with a preconceived notion of what a person should be, and daughter wasn't feeling like she was fitting in anymore.
But also she didn't feel challenged anymore.
Mm-hmm. Which I was actually kind of confused at one point in this movie because we see that she's taking her exam and then she scores like a 98% on the exam. But like I was so confused because we see questions like, do you feel like you're constantly being misunderstood, true or false? And like we see her just in our perception of this movie, you kind of see her just start like pressing buttons, and it says answer detected, answer detected, answer detected. Like it almost seemed to me like she was trying to throw the examination, but that's not at all what happened because of how it was portrayed. And I don't know.
No, I get it.
There are moments in this movie where I question, like, I don't question why they speeded through the exam because it makes sense. You're not going to want to sit there as she's taking an exam, but I guess the approach of which they like did the music after the important like conversation and that was one of those moments where the story beats were interesting because this whole thing is about the conflict between like woman and daughter versus mom and daughter. Yes.
There's woman should have been from a different vault.
Like just a different repopulation center in general.
Maybe, yeah.
Like you find you like that better than her having come from leaving the mines and just living alone now.
Maybe, yeah. That could, in my opinion, that could work better because then her idea, like maybe she found out and she escaped and she's been out there for a while, but mother let her live for this reason.
Mm-hmm. Like I kind of agree with you. I feel like I would have liked it better if woman was like child 2, one who had escaped and gotten out and then decided to come back after so many years. Because, like, as we said, mother had kept her alive for a reason. Like, all the people have died around her except for her. You know, it's
It
almost
just
like,
kills her off.
yeah. And then we kill her off at the end because her purpose was to show that old humans are not what daughter needs to be.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
It makes you ask questions. One thing I do like too, which I watched an interview with the director, and he made sure to bring this up, was I enjoyed that they actually took us outside of the facility. Because I've seen tons of post-apocalyptic movies where we are stuck inside the facility and we never leave. Like Portal's guilty of this as well, where in Portal 1, we leave the facility and we're out in daytime, but as soon as we walk out into the daytime, the film ends. Like a lot of sci-fi movies where it's like we live in a utopia that's actually corrupt and evil. It ends as soon as they leave the utopia. And this one, it took us outside and we got to see the outside world, which I kind of wish was more severe, like more trying, you know?
Yeah, like something that actually like
maybe if we actually saw them having problems with robots as they were leaving.
Some more engagement with the outside world.
Mm.
Like maybe one or two humans even. Something.
I don't know about the human things. Like the only moment where we see kind of any interest in the outside world is the helicopter or whatever plane as it flies over them as they run into the cornfield. Like, which that was confusing as well, but also wasn't at the same time. Like, when they run into the cornfield, my first thought was, well, we do see that mother does give daughter corn pretty often.
Yeah.
But then the explanation was, it just kind of started showing up 6 months ago, and it's made the air easier to breathe. It's like, I don't know why this corn has just started showing up. It just kind of has.
Also, now they're stuck in there, by the way.
Yes. They cannot leave that facility unless they finish destroying that 1 out of 4 hydraulic lock.
Then what do they do when they leave? What if things go to shit? Is mother gonna restart?
See, my guess is there's probably more facilities out there. But
all the questions that should have been answered, that they should have gone with, are not answered by the end of this, and that's why I don't like it.
I can
There we
appreciate
go.
that. I feel like a hint of a good movie though makes you want to, like, has you asking questions. But I can appreciate because it's like it's telling you to ask these questions, and at least you think it's telling you to ask these questions, and then it doesn't answer those questions by the end. So,
Or it's answered them so early and starts flip-flopping between the two perspectives. I think that's one of my problems too, is that like mother and woman are like flip-flopped from being the potential antagonist multiple times, and by the end of it, it doesn't really matter which one is, because neither of them are really good in any way either. Like, they have good intention, but they're not good. By the end, I don't know. News?
yeah, sure, I guess. I got nothing else here. All right. So, for the news this week, I always think I feel like a couple of things. One, should we come up with a different segment for the news and wrap up? Like, I like this part of the podcast where it's kind of like relaxed. We can talk a little bit. We can talk about what's going on with movies and news a little bit. We can go into like what's on in our life when it comes to media. But at the same time, I only really cover news that seems interesting to us. Like,
I'm fine with it just being wrap up.
We'll see, because there's definitely a lot of news that we've missed throughout the years, and it's understandable because we don't really look out for news. But at the same time, I'm like, should we start looking out for more news? I don't know. This segment sits in a weird spot with me, so
That's fair.
I've been thinking a lot about the show lately. So, not that like I want to stop it or anything, but like, how can we improve it? We've been doing essentially the same thing for a few years now, and not much has changed. So maybe we should change. Kind of thought.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, are you talking about like growth and stuff like that?
No. Yes and no.
Okay.
Like,
Because, like, in my opinion, growth right now isn't going to come from doing the two shows we do. It's got to come from me getting back to getting guests and stuff like that. Because that interacts with other communities. And it's going to come down to getting a couple of the other shows back up and running.
I both agree and disagree with this because, like, sure, going out there and getting our name out there by being like, hey, there's this, we're bringing this person from another community into our community, so we can kind of mix communities for a little bit. Like, sure, that's interesting, and it works sometimes, but I feel like at the same time, it would work, like, if we had things those people would enjoy, they would be here still. Like, I feel like there's something somewhere where we're not connecting the dots. Like, yes, we make funny content. Yes, we make decent content. But there's a line somewhere where we draw somebody in. We're funny while we have that person, but we're not keeping those people here. And I want to find something, even if it's one small little thing, that'll be like, huh, I'm excited for this. That'll keep me here. Other than just the two of us arguing.
Well, in my opinion, that's going to be tougher to find because, like, well, that was my thing, like, throughout the week, like, when we had T-Pop, Hardcore Game Night, and then our podcast after this. Like, we had a week slate of stuff. Problem with that was T-Pop was tough to do with just Jay because you and I were not able to be there. Hardcore Game Night's tough to do because Jim's schedule is either he either works evenings or he doesn't. Like, that is his definitive schedule at that point, usually, and it's tough to do a game show when him and Blue, who is also working 12-hour days, who would be the main two with me on that, with you and Jay kind of rotating. Tough to do that when their work schedules are like not normal anymore.
I hear you, but I guess my kind of counter to that one in this instance is like, it shouldn't be. For instance, if, like, I worry about this show because if one week you don't show up because you're sick or whatnot, or something random miscellaneous happens, sure, I can do the show alone, but there's a huge dynamic that's suddenly missing because we don't have someone to fill that second slot. And that's kind of the problem we had with T-pop is, yes, Jay is awesome and he's a funny guy and he can really explain things well.
Yes.
But without that interaction of someone always being there and just having an ability to have someone always there, like, and I know your response is we get more people into the group. That way we could have more, like, less responsibility on us. But I don't think the answer to not getting people in is have more content. I think it should be find content that makes people like us and then eventually create more content. Like,
that, for me, the problem with that is that's eggs in one basket.
I disagree in that case. Because I think about it like my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, when I was releasing a Let's Play every single day, was getting 1 view a week. And still now, I'm getting at least 2, like, some of my videos are getting 2 or 3 views a week, and I post once every 6 months. Because they're just better, funnier videos.
Oh, that's fair. And I'm like, I'm more talking about from the perspective of doing like podcasts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, if, at least in my opinion, like, part of it too is I would like us to be on more platforms with it.
That's something I can
audio
agree with.
as well.
Like audio only podcasting is very important. I can agree with that.
I think that would be good for us, would be audio. Like, we just need to get better at doing that. To do that would be a lot of work for one of us to, make sure that we're uploading that and everything. And it is tough to, like, make sure you remember to record everything in every form and all that. It's like, there's multiple steps that you'd have to do. Because it's either that or we pull the audio from it.
Like, editing, see, the thing is, editing is not that hard, honestly. It just takes time to render. Like, when I edit this, I literally shorten the beginning, shorten the end. Every once in a while, I'll do something in the middle, but more often than not, I don't do anything to the middle. I will upload it, and you can rip the audio straight from that and export it as an audio-only thing as well.
My editor doesn't let me do that.
Mine does, because it's just that easy. I could literally just be like, export audio only, or export audio and video. And
see, that then I need Adobe then, because it would be easier for me, because I can't do that with my audio thing. I would have to record through Audacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have to do
while
that
streaming.
Because, like, the reason why I don't, like, the reason why I haven't been doing it is part of me feels like I do, like, I'm not going to say I do all the work on this channel, but I feel like I do almost all of the technical work, which takes a lot of time. So
no, I agree you do, because, like, I don't have the tools to do a lot of that stuff, because I don't have Photoshop and stuff like that to make the thumbnails and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just genuinely don't have access to that right now.
Then can I ask you one thing?
What?
When you go to upload the Har Har podcast, can you at least type in your own descriptions, so I don't have to type it all? It would just save me time.
I just don't know what you normally put there.
Anything that kind of describes the episode. If you looked at the YouTube channel, you would understand.
Motherfucker, fuck you. I'm also balancing several other things at the same time.
No, I hear you.
I'm balancing a 40-hour fucking work week with a 20-hour stream schedule per week. I think I'm streaming around 20 hours a week right now, right?
It changes. Like, you'll sometimes
15 to 20?
Yeah, it changes every week. Sometimes you'll be like, you'll stream for 10 hours. Sometimes you'll stream for 20. Sometimes you'll get weird, like 30-hour weeks, because you're like, I'm going to stream every week, every night for 5 hours. And then I'm sitting there for like,
sorry.
It's okay.
At that point, you're better off making highlights and exporting those, because they're going to be shorter. Or clips. Yeah, I don't know, like, that's part of the thing too. It's just like, I'm not good at the YouTube side of things. I've always admitted that. Like, I don't get YouTube, and I never really have.
I just think it's not that hard. Like, I guess I don't know. I like I'm at a point where I want to say things, but if I do, I'm going to sound like the biggest dick. And I don't mean,
Go ahead, it's
like,
fine.
I don't mean to be an asshole. I'm trying not to be an asshole when I say this.
I get
like,
it.
I feel like if you would just take the time to learn it, you would find out it's really easy.
That's
and you just don't take
fair.
the time.
I've watched so many videos to try to understand YouTube. Especially Matt Pat.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone because he does a lot of really good understanding YouTube content. But even then, I feel like I still don't get it, if that makes sense. Because when I would create my descriptions on my YouTube videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never felt like they were good. They described what was happening and everything, and I felt like they worked, in my opinion, but also I felt like they weren't good. Because I don't know, because I think part of it is that I also don't feel like I'm good at describing things.
Okay. You and your casual doubting yourself,
Yeah, that's part of it. That is a lot of it. It's just my fucking anxiety brain's you don't know how to do this. Why are you trying to do this? You have people, you know people who do this better.
I both agree and disagree, because I've definitely had 2 moments in my life where I've just plunged myself straight into the deep end, be like, yeah, I know how to do this, when I really didn't. Like for instance, my JCPenney job. I blatantly lied to them and said, yes, I have done studio photography. I could do studio photography, no problem. I post people all the time. And the very first day I walk in there, they're like, studio photography? I'm like, yes. I'm like, all right, here's your camera, have at it. They weren't going to train me at all. And I was like, can I get an example once, please? So then they showed me one example of their session, and I was like, okay, I'm going to fake it till I make it. And then 9 months later, they were offering, I was recommended for the manager position, so.
And they fucked you out of it 3 times now? Or is it twice?
2 for one company, 1 branch, and 1 for a second branch.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So 3 total, but 2 for JCPenney.
For me, that's kind of how I did streaming. I know I'm much more natural streaming. That, I will fully say that. I'm more natural when there's something I can engage with here and chat to engage with here. That is my bread and butter when it comes to content stuff. Editing, I'm not great at. I mean, I'm good at, and I can do it, but I always feel like I'm missing something, and I feel like I over-edit after a certain point. If you watch some of my older stuff, man, I really over-edited.
I feel that way sometimes with the stuff that I make for you now. I'm like, do I really need to just zoom in on your face because you said something? Do I need to animate science bouncing off the walls because you're explaining something?
I feel like that's funny though. Yours is in comedic fashion. Mine was usually weird. I had when I was playing with.
I'm thinking the Dragon Ball one.
Well, let's not talk about that one. That was just weird. I don't know what I was on to do that. But the one that I think of too is when I was playing with back when I still talked to the Anarchy Arena. There was no bad. As far as I know, there wasn't beef between us. At least from my end. I don't know though, because it feels like we talked, and then I joined HMD. We still talked, and then suddenly I had to devote a little bit more time to HMD because I was part of a team and stuff. And then it was just nothing. I've reached out a couple times here and there, but I don't know. I don't like always having to be the one to reach out to mend bridges and stuff. Because I feel like something apparently happened, but I don't know what happened. I don't know. It's complicated. And I don't fully understand what happened. And so but I was playing with them, and I edited this part where one of them was doing Herbert the Pervert voice. And I put Herbert on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And he popped up, dropped down, popped up, raced across the screen. But it's just stupid shit like that is what I did. Like, it was never anything that was like good.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, the only thing I could say about like from you editing stuff compared to me editing stuff is that occasionally I feel like the music is like occasionally for me off balanced,
Mm-hmm.
but that could just be a me thing.
I like,
but
there's
like it's
definitely
rare
times when the
enough that
music's loud.
But it doesn't happen that often.
The thing that's weird for me is
This podcast has changed, by the way, to just talking about like content and stuff like that.
I hear
I'm
ya.
cool with that.
The one part that's weird to me with like the editing is I'll edit a video using like my speakers and whatnot, so I can hear the way it'll sound like I normally hear it while I'm editing, and it'll sound perfectly fine. But then once I upload it to YouTube, suddenly all of the music's louder, and I'm like, wait a second.
It's got to be something with YouTube then.
It might be.
Because if it sounds balanced when you're editing it,
it's either there's something up with Adobe and their audio leveling compared to like YouTube and their audio leveling, or it's just that YouTube wants music to be louder so they can identify it easier for their copywriting. But
either way, it happens from time to time, but it's not that big of a deal to me. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just like for me, like descriptions have always been hard for me because like I just don't know what to put there. I don't know, like I can describe it and then I feel like it's too bland and then I try to do more, but then I feel like I'm over explaining things.
Like I put literally very small amounts of information in stuff.
See, I know that's what everyone's supposed to do, but my brain's like, make it stick out, stupid.
Like the tweets that I send out are usually the furthest that I go into a description as well. Like for today's video, it'll probably say something like, on this critically casual, join Srikovs and Dorky Dev as they dive deep down into the mechanics of sci-fi suspense movies, because it gets to the idea that we're reviewing a movie about robots and that it's about sci-fi suspense, and then I'll probably put in there that we're reviewing I Am Mother and whatnot. And then I always copy and paste the this was recorded on this date, and you could catch Critically Casual at 6 p.m. Pacific. Like, I always just copy and paste it from the week before and change the date.
That's smart, honestly. That's a good way to do it. Because like I think my problem is just like I think I just overthink it too much, probably.
It's understandable. Okay. Do we want to actually talk about one piece of news that I found?
Yeah, let's do a quick piece of news.
Okay. So, IMC is opening up their theaters. It started this last week.
Did you say IMC or AMC?
AMC, I apologize.
I couldn't tell quite because you kind of moved, so I don't know if you said.
And moved away, and then
yeah, so I don't know if it was an AMC, but it sounded to me like IMC.
Mm-hmm. AMC movie theaters have started opening up their seating again and like showings of movies and whatnot. They started this last weekend, about Friday or Thursday or Friday, one of those two. I can't remember which one specifically. But they have stated that there's going to be a seat buffer policy where every other row of seating is going to be taken for just leaving space.
Yep.
And there's supposed to be at least one seat of space between you and the group next to you.
Yep.
However, there's a problem with that when it comes to online ticket ordering, where they don't, at the moment, have the seat buffer program installed. So someone will order 3 tickets, and then someone else online will order the tickets right next to them. And
because guess what? Some of those apps force you to buy the ticket next to people.
Sometimes, yeah. So
they're like, you can't have that one seat buffer. Like, legitimately, the theater I go to, the VIP, like, if you order a seat that creates a bubble between you two, you have to make sure that there's at least 2 seats minimum between you two.
Oh, okay.
Because if someone else is going with someone else, they want to be able to buy that set of tickets. Understandable. And that's fair. At the same time, I'm like, well, fuck. Sometimes I don't want to be on the very end of the aisle. I also don't want to be next to Joe Schmo.
I luck out and I'm usually the third wheel, where I go alone and I just sit in between, or at least used to. I'd sit in between two parties, and they'd be like, "Oh, I want this space so I'm not bumping elbows." And I'm that one guy who's like, "Hey, I brought my popcorn. Scoot, move your elbow. This is my seat now, bitch." So I take advantage of people wanting their space in movies to just take the seat.
An open seat, take it. But at the same time, for me, that's the opposite of what I do because I am very antisocial.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was that way until I was like, I just need to see these movies. I'm here just to see these movies. Every once,
my thing about like back to AMC, my thing about that is like,
like right now, it's not a good thing.
No, it's still too early for America, man. Like,
I wish more people agreed with us, because I 100% feel the same way. I feel like everything is happening too quickly. Don't get me wrong. The U.S. has been shut down for half a year, basically, at this point. But we haven't...
What have we done to stop it?
Yeah, we haven't really been shut down. We haven't stopped anything. And people are just opening businesses back up. And, like, for instance, I went to a school this last week where on the very first day, I got a complaint from the school because one of my photographers, this was garbage. She didn't want to wear her mask when no one was in the room, which kind of makes sense, of course. Like, there's no one in the room.
But you were in the room.
Yes, I was in the room, and other people were in the room. But the school complained to her and was like, "Hey, I know there's no students in here, but can you keep your mask on while you're on the premises?" And she got in an argument about, like, she had asthma and she whatnot and yada yada yada. And I'm sitting there with asthma wearing 2 masks right in front of her because I do that. And so yeah, that's fun. But while the school made sure to complain and be like, "Hey, make sure if you're on campus and in our buildings, you're wearing a mask," at the same time, right next to us was their open swimming pool and their open racquetball court that they had open to the community while the school was closed down, where people were just swimming and playing racquetball without masks on, and like playing tennis right next to all the kids.
How could you go swimming right now? How could you sanely feel safe swimming right now?
The pools are heavily chlorinated.
I couldn't care less.
No, I hear you. But yeah.
You know how many times you accidentally bump into Joe Schmo in a fucking pool?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. They're like, I sat there feeling like this is all too business as normal. Like, these people, sure, me and my coworkers will get in trouble for not wearing our masks, but you're not going to care about all these other people not wearing their masks in the middle of this pandemic. And like, it just feels all too business as normal. Like, school photography is happening and schools are being shut down, so we can't like go to that school, so our schedule is constantly changing. JCPenney photography studios opening soon, movie theaters are opening, restaurants are opening, barbershops, everything is opening right now. Like, they're even doing like eye appointments again, which I haven't done an eye appointment because nobody wanted to have to constantly clean off that faceplate so they could do their eye exams. But apparently they're like, we gotta make money. That's more important than life.
Well, I mean, if only our government had some way of giving businesses that needed it money during this kind of scenario.
Careful now.
But no.
You might start talking about things that make sense, and then you'll be called a socialist.
Fuck it, I'm a fucking socialist.
No, you're not. Like, trust me. I have a friend who is definitely a socialist when it comes to things going on, and like, communism is something that he's like he strives for the Star Trek world where everybody has everything that they want in their world as long as they've served in the military, essentially.
Do I know this person?
No, I went to school with them in college.
Okay.
So
I mean, and I get that in a sense, but at the same time, I'm more of the socialism of like Europe, where people
You know,
don't have to worry about healthcare in college.
yeah, yeah. Where when the taxes that come out of your money go to things like your health and your roads and your food, and yeah, that all makes sense. Me at least.
The fact that like I think it's Norway or Sweden that has the $2,000 a month monthly income to everyone. That like, and people are like, oh, but they're gonna if you do that, the people will be lazy and won't want to work. Everyone likes working there. Like for fuck's sakes.
It's just, yeah. There's a lot to talk about that we could, if we want. Good thing this isn't a politics show. Am I right?
Dude, at this point, we could start one, you and I.
No, we could. And it'd be great because finally people, like, I could show it to my family, be like, here's my opinion on things, and then they could tell me all the reasons why I'm wrong.
And why you're not going to Christmas.
I'm sure they invite me, but they just tell me every reason why I'm wrong while I'm there.
I couldn't do it.
So, before we get on another topic, let's talk about next week and call it an end of this.
Oh, yo, I cannot wait for this week. This coming week, man.
Mm-hmm. So this week, we're going Terminators.
It's not in the right order for what we should do, but
yeah,
I'll fix it. Read it from that one, then that one.
Okay. So we're going to start, next week is Terminator. We're going to start from the very beginning with Terminator, you know? We're going to see where the franchise started with all of its greatness, a little bit of suspense, a little bit of drama, and then we're going to go see what the fuck they did wrong with Salvation and Genesis.
Yeah, because we did 2, and we did, Dark Fate?
The most recent Terminator thing, I think, was Dark Fate, yes.
That was last year, damn it, it's not on this list. Alright, I think it was Dark Fate. Genuinely, that shows you how unrememberable that movie is. We aren't going to be doing 3 Rise of the Machines. We may do that at some point.
We'll find another movie to pair that with.
I thought it would be fun. Like we thought it'd be fun to do, and I suggested Terminator because I like the first Terminator, I like the second Terminator, obviously. I thought it'd be fun to do those. At least the first one in Genesis. And then we debated on whether or not we wanted to make this our triple week.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, we had a triple week earlier, but that was a joke.
I just remembered something about Kill Command.
What?
Like, I never got into why that movie was, like a racial movie over just an action film. And it's because she's an android.
I mean, yes, but they don't do enough with it to make that the story for me.
No, I hear you. But it's the whole thing is...
it's surface level, Steven.
Yeah, once again, yeah. It's... The idea was those soldiers are treating her like crap because she's part machine. And then by the end of it, the soldiers love her. And she's like, I'm a human. She essentially sacrifices herself for them, but also doesn't.
Oh, it's the thing of life, though.
So yeah, that's why it's a racial story. And I don't know why thinking about Terminator and, how it's a religious story made me think about racial stories, but whatever.
We got there.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. This is gonna be fun. This is one of the this week and the week after are the reasons why we kind of chose Robo Month.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to the week after only because those are the worst best movies ever or the best worst movies ever. It's really yours.
It really does. That is the only 2 explanations for those movies. I've heard that multiple times from multiple people that they are the best worst movies ever or the worst best movies ever. Like they are such and that is the thing. There's a fine gray area in there too of just average movies, and there's bad films and then good films. And this is either like a 4 that could be considered a 6, or it's a 6 that could be considered a 4. It completely skips over that middle gray area. Or maybe it's like a 3.5 or a 6.5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm thinking closer to 3s and 7s, I think would be closer, but
yeah, probably. Somewhere in there that they are either that but can be argued to that, or that and argued down to that, but it's not really in the middle.
Eh.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think we've given enough hints for what's happening those weeks. But yeah, so next week, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genesis. Oh yeah.
I think Salvation's the only one I haven't actually seen, so I'm looking forward to it.
I haven't seen any of the last two. I do remember, fun fact, if you're going to Northern Arizona University and you are assigned to make a movie budget, fucking make up your numbers and go big with it. Like, that's literally what I did. Like, there was an assignment where they sat there and it's like, all right, your job is to produce a movie budget. Like, you go through all pre-production and you plan everything out. And everyone else was like, all right, I'm going to do a small budget, $10,000 movie with this cast and this director and blah, 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 blah. And they really thought it out. And I was like, I'm going to do a blockbuster movie where all the numbers can be bullshit. As long as they seem reasonable, I'll get an A. And I did.
Smart.
I don't know why that was important for this, but I decided to bring it up.
I think
there
it's funny
anyways.
still.
Yeah. So yeah, we're done here, I guess, for this week. Unless there's anything else.
No, I got nothing else this week.
All right.
I'm looking forward to next week, and then the week after that, and then the month after that, and the month after that, and the month after that, and the month after that. We've got a fun rest of the year. I know I've talked about it, but we do have a fun
start
rest of the year.
making posters again. It'll be easy.
How about this? Just do that next year. The year without the poster. It was 2020.
That's true. It was just too dramatic to deal with. Times are always changing. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't want to say
By the time we had months planned out, it was already the end of the year.
All right.
Dude, that really does show how much this year was just all over the place. We had like the first 3 months planned. We had most of this fucking year planned.
And then everything changed from the Corona Nation.
Pretty much.
All right. So, by the way, other things I want to talk about. A bunch of shows that I care about have been released. Like, there's a season 3 of, well, it's not technically season 3. I talked about it. The Guillermo del Toro Tales of Arcadia has its third storyline called Wizards, which has now been released. So you can check that out if you're interested in his stuff.
You hyped about that?
Yep. Another season of 7 Deadly Sins has come out on Netflix as well. So if you like that anime, that has a new season. Legend of Korra is now on Netflix. So I'm going to start watching that. I've never watched that series, but I really want to. So I need to start talking to friends about watching a watch party.
I may join you. I need to watch through Avatar still. Because I just got my Netflix set up.
Yeah, your new Netflix?
A new Netflix.
Are you going to...
I'm doing the free trial.
Okay. I was going to say, if you're going to
And then by the end of the month, I'm going to switch it to maybe just the one screen standard because I don't need HD.
If you change it to the 2 screen, I might join you.
Oh, if that's the case, that'll be cheaper for both of us.
Yeah, let me think about it.
That'd be like $6 each.
Yeah, let me think about it because I could technically still have free access to Netflix through my dad, but I need to eventually... Like, if we just make it a har thing and both of us split the money, like... It could work.
I'm in.
And then we could give the password to a guest for them to watch the movie, and then we'll change the password the week after.
By the end of it, we have like 6 guests on the guest account. Because we don't change it after a certain point. Mm-hmm. And we're like, hey, fuckers, get off the Netflix account.
This is charging us $30 a week. All right.
Well, no, but it would be us being like, fuck, we need to use this account for the show. I need you off. I need you off now. Emergency viewing.
Jesus. I remember having problems where it's like I gave friends my Netflix, my mom's Netflix actually, and then she'd be like, I was trying to watch this, but it says there's already 2 people watching. I'm like, oh, sorry, I must have it open on my phone as well as my laptop.
Yo, dumbass, get off.
Yeah.
Well, that was with me and my dad and my friend. He knew our friends were using it, so he had a group text with all of us after one point. He's like, hey, someone get off the Netflix. I want to watch something. Sorry.
Oh, that's such a nice. That's why Netflix is more expensive now.
Fucking $15 a month?
Remember when it was like 5? Good old
Back
days.
in the good old days.
Yeah. All right, we're done here. We're getting way too distracted.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you next week for Terminator stuff.
Bye.
You're awesome.
We'll be back.
With weapons.
Get to the chopper. Oh, wrong franchise. We already did that one. Shit. Hasta la vista, baby.